The Galactic Council's chamber was a place built to make visitors feel small. It was shaped like a vast circular arena, tier upon tier of seats rising high into the shadows of a domed ceiling that shimmered with false starlight. Massive banners of alien civilizations hung from the curved walls, scaled leather from the Sithkar warlords, crystalline sheets from the Kelnari colonies, and banners woven from living vines by the Avaran horticulture guilds. Each represented a power older and larger than anything humanity could yet imagine. In the very center of the floor, surrounded on all sides by those towering seats, stood the podium of petitioners. It was a single disk of polished obsidian, barely large enough for one person to stand on comfortably. And today, that single person was human. Captain Elias Ward. He stood straight, wearing the deep blue of the Terran Exploration Corps. His uniform was simple compared to the glittering armor, flowing robes or living exosuits worn by the alien delegates above him. He carried no weapon, no ornate staff, no shimmering medals, just the thin silver badge on his chest with the Earth emblem. On the vast holographic display that floated in the air above him was his ship. The HSS Valiant. It was small, smaller than anything in the Council's fleet registry, barely the length of an alien cargo shuttle. Its surface was smooth, painted matte gray with a faint shimmer in the light. There were no visible heavy weapons, no massive engines glowing with power, no intimidating wings or claws like the warships of the Kelnari. It didn't even look dangerous. The alien crowd murmured, then laughed. The sound was a strange mixture, hissing, clicking, deep booming growls, sharp metallic tones, all blending into a wave of mockery that rolled across the chamber. Some aliens pointed at the image. Others spoke into their translators, which cheerfully broadcast insults in 100 languages. "It's a toy," one delegate from the Sithkar warlords said loudly, his voice amplified so everyone could hear. "A child's training craft. Perhaps it is a cargo drone," another voice added. This one from the insectoid Itari ambassador, her mandibles clicking. "They have come to deliver snacks to the Outer Rim?" Laughter again, louder this time. Elias Ward did not speak. He didn't smile. He didn't frown. His face remained calm, eyes fixed not on the laughing crowd, but on the small group of alien admirals seated in the highest tier, the Council's Defense Committee. They did not laugh. They simply watched him, their expressions unreadable. A deep, rumbling voice echoed through the chamber. It belonged to Admiral Rovak, a giant reptilian commander with scales like burnished bronze. He leaned forward, claws tapping the railing before him. "This Valiant." Rovak paused to let the laughter die down. "You claim it can patrol the Outer Rim, that it can face pirates, raiders, and perhaps even the ghost fleets." Elias's voice was calm, his words clipped and precise. "That is correct, Admiral." More laughter. Someone in the lower tiers made a show of covering their eyes as if they couldn't bear to watch what was coming. Rovak's eyes narrowed. "I wager it will not survive a single patrol mission. Not one. If it leaves the dock, it will return. In pieces, if it returns at all." The Council chamber reacted like a stadium at a sports match. Some shouted agreement. Others placed quick bets over their comes, exchanging credits, precious metals, or strange alien currencies that pulsed with light. Elias didn't flinch. "Then the mission parameters are clear," he said simply. Rovak gave a slow, predatory smile. "Yes, very clear. We will monitor your craft. We will see how long your human optimism lasts in the cold dark." The official record keeper of the Council, a floating sphere of living crystal, spoke then. Its voice was like chimes in the wind. "Mission authorization granted. The human ship Valiant will depart at once for Patrol Sector XR9, Outer Rim. Journey will be observed by Council representatives." The great hollow display shifted to show the sector, a scatter of red icons marking known pirate nests, Black zones for unexplored anomalies, and an ominous gray fog over the edge of mapped space. The murmurs started again. Sector XR9 was no place for experiments. Even well-armed dreadnoughts avoided its farthest reaches. Elias Ward simply nodded DAF from the inside of his uniform sleeve. Hidden from view, he tapped a sequence into a small control pad. The signal was encrypted, bouncing through a dozen relay points before reaching its destination. On the other side of the galaxy, orbiting a refueling station, the crew of the HSS Valiant received the transmission. Lights came alive on the bridge. The soft hum of the ship's mysterious engine grew louder. The mission had begun. Elias stepped back from the podium of petitioners, his boots clicking softly on the polished floor. The laughter still followed him, but he didn't seem to hear it. His eyes were distant, focused on something far beyond the council chamber. As the doors closed behind him, cutting off the noise of the crowd, only one thought remained in the minds of those who had watched him leave. They didn't know the humans had brought something no one had ever seen before. The HSS Valiant left the safe lanes of council space with hardly a whisper. There was no grand farewell, no military escort, no crowd of admirers to watch it leave the orbital docks. The alien news feeds barely mentioned it, and when they did, it was only as a curiosity. A tiny human ship headed into one of the most dangerous patrol routes in the galaxy, out in the black. The Valiant moved like a silver shadow, its matte hull blending into the endless dark. It was so small that even the automated beacons of the outer rim barely registered its passing. On the bridge, Captain Elias Ward stood behind the pilot's chair, his hands clasped behind his back. He stared through the forward canopy, where distant stars drifted slowly past. The bridge was compact, no wasted space. To his left, Lieutenant Mara Vale, the ship's pilot, was running a silent systems check. Her fingers moved fast over the controls, her eyes scanning each readout with care. Mara was young, sharp and unshakable, one of the best pilots in the Terran fleet. To his right, Commander Rourke, the ship's weapons officer, leaned back in his chair, boots crossed on the console. He looked relaxed, but his eyes kept flicking to the long-range sensors. Down in the lower level of the bridge, Dr. Nia Sato, the science officer, was monitoring environmental readings. Her soft voice occasionally broke the silence with quiet status updates. Radiation levels normal. Gravitational stability holding. No unusual signatures in the next 50 light minutes. From the engineering bay, the voice of Chief Engineer Lyle Barrett crackled over the comms. Engines are running smooth, Captain. But I still don't like pushing them at this level without a warm-up run. You'll get your warm-up, Elias replied. Just not the way you expect. No one asked what he meant. They were used to their captain's cryptic answers, watching eyes unbeknownst to the crew. They were being watched. Far behind them, hidden among drifting rocks, a Kelnari scout ship tracked their movements. It was sleek, black, and equipped with high-grade stealth systems. Its crew, 2 officers and a council observer, had been ordered to follow the Valiant's every move. The Kelnari commander sneered at the small vessel on his display. "They will not last long," he said in his native tongue. "I have seen freight drones with more armor." The council observer, a tall insectoid Atari, tilted her head. Still, it vanished from sensors 3 hours ago and reappeared without explanation. "That is not usual." The commander waved a claw dismissively. "Sensor glitch. The humans have nothing new." But his eyes lingered on the Valiant's faint energy signature. Something about it made his scales itch. The vanish 8 hours into Tau. The patrol, the Valiant drifted past a belt of ancient asteroids, their surfaces pitted and scarred by millennia of collisions. The crew remained calm, but Elias gave a short, sharp order. "Mara, execute ghost step." The pilot's hands moved instantly. The lights on the bridge dimmed. The faint hum of the engines shifted to a deeper, almost subsonic vibration. For an outside observer, The Valiant simply disappeared. One moment, it was a faint silver speck against the void. The next, it was gone, not cloaked, not hidden behind debris, gone. The Kelnari scout's sensors flared with static. The commander swore and slammed a clawed fist on the console. Find them, but there was nothing to find. The Valiant had slipped completely outside their detection grid. Inside the human ship, the crew sat in near darkness. A faint shimmer passed over the walls, as if the very space around them was bending. Dr. Sato's voice was hushed. Readings are stable. Dimensional displacement complete. Hold course for 2 minutes, Elias ordered. The Valiant slid silently through a pocket of distorted space. Unseen and untouchable. Exactly 120 seconds later, Mara's fingers danced across the controls again. The hum shifted back to normal. The bridge lights brightened. And the stars outside looked exactly the same, but to the Kelnari watching far behind, the ship had jumped millions of kilometers in an instant. Outer rim approaches beyond the asteroid belt lay the edge of Council Patrol territory. The stars here seemed colder, sharper, as if they were carved into the black rather than shining naturally. Small outposts dotted the map, lonely, half-forgotten stations where fuel was expensive and information was free if you could pay in. The right currency dot as the Valiant cruised toward the first refueling station. Rourke leaned forward, picking up chatter, pirate frequencies. 2, maybe 3 ships in the area. Course change? Mara asked. Elias shook his head. Negative. Maintain heading. Let them see us. The crew exchanged glances but said nothing. Contact. 3 hours later, the long-range sensors picked up movement. 2 ships emerged from the shadow of a dead moon. Both were heavily armed, jagged hulls, mismatched armor plates, and glowing engine cores that pulsed like angry hearts. They're scanning us, Rourke muttered. Let them, Elias said. Moment later, a voice crackled over the comms, deep, distorted, and dripping with mockery. Well, what's this? A lonely little pebble floating through my hunting grounds? This is Captain Elias Ward of the HSS Valiant, Elias replied, his tone even. State your business. The pirate laughed. My business is taking your ship and selling what's left of your crew to the mines. But don't worry, I'll keep your hull in one piece. It'll make a nice decoration. Rourke's hand hovered over the weapons control. Orders, Captain? Elias didn't answer immediately. He was watching the sensor readout, noting the exact positions of the pirate ships. Then, in a calm voice, Mara, go step, now. The pirates saw the Valiant shimmer, and then it was gone. Their scanners went wild, searching in every direction. A moment later, the Valiant reappeared, but not where they expected. It was behind them, moving fast. Before the pirates could react, Rourke fired. 2 precise shots, not massive blasts, but tightly focused beams, sliced through the pirates' engines. Both ships went dead in space, their cores shutting down instantly. The comm channel erupted with curses and threats. Elias closed the connection. Resume course. The signal hours later, the bridge was quiet again. The pirates were drifting far behind, unable to follow. The crew settled back into routine. Then Dr. Sato straightened in her seat. Captain, I'm detecting something strange. Elias stepped closer. Show me. On her display, a single thread of energy appeared, faint, almost lost in background noise. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. It's a signal, she said. Not random, too structured. Source? She hesitated. Outside mapped. Space. Far beyond XR9. The coordinates. They're not in any database. The signal pulsed again, and this time, it carried something more. A sound. It was not a voice exactly, but it was speaking. Whispering in a language none of them recognized, yet somehow it felt directed at them. Mara glanced back from the pilot's chair. Captain, it knows we're here. Elias didn't take his eyes off the screen. Plot a course. Dr. Sato looked shocked. Sir, we don't know. Plot a course. He repeated. The Valiant turned slowly, leaving the patrol route behind. Heading toward the unknown dot far behind them, in the shadows, the Kelnari Scouts commander watched in disbelief. They're leaving the sector, no authorization. Number. Backup. They're chasing something. The Atari observer's antennae twitched. Perhaps they are more interesting than we thought. And in the darkness ahead, the faint whisper of the signal seemed almost amused. The Valiant cut through the darkness of unmapped space, its engines a low, steady hum. The signal they were following pulsed every 30 seconds now, soft, deliberate, like a heartbeat just beyond reach. The coordinates pointed them toward a sector no council ship patrolled. No trade lanes, no outposts, no beacons. Just black space and scattered debris fields where ancient battles had been fought and forgotten. On the bridge, Captain Elias Ward stood silent, eyes fixed on the forward view. Lieutenant Mara Vale kept the ship steady while Commander Rourke sat at weapons, scanning every shadow. Dr. Nia Sato monitored the signal's changing frequency. Her brows furrowed. Chief Engineer Barrett's voice came over the comms. Captain, I'm telling you, that signal isn't bouncing off anything. It's direct. Something out there knows where we are, and it's calling us in. That's the idea, Elias replied. The quiet before the crew had learned not to question him too much in moments like this. Still, there was tension in the air. Even Mara, unshakable in combat, kept glancing at her side display, as if expecting something to leap out from the dark. The hum of the ship seemed louder. The stars outside looked sharper, colder. Rourke broke the silence first. Picking up. Motion. 4 ships on intercept course. Fast. They're not broadcasting identification codes, Mara added. No council registry. Pirates, Rourke said. Flatly. Dr. Sato looked up from her console. Or something worse. The net closes. The unknown ships emerged from the darkness, jagged silhouettes with mismatched armor plating, glowing weapon mounts, and engines burning bright red. They spread out in a wide arc, boxing the Valiant in. Rourke cursed under his breath. They've been waiting for us. We followed the signal straight into an ambush. The comms came alive with a distorted voice. Little ship. You've wandered far from your safe lanes. Now you belong to us. Elias's voice was calm. I don't believe so. The pirate commander laughed, the sound rough and metallic. You think your tiny craft can fight us? I have more firepower in one gun than you have in your whole hull. The Valiant's crew could see it was true. The pirate's heavy cannons glowed, ready to fire. The trap springs. Target lock in 10 seconds, Mara said quietly. Elias didn't blink. Not yet. The pirates closed in, forming a ring. Any escape vector would take the Valiant directly into their fire. Rourke's voice was tight. Captain, if you're planning something, now, Elias said softly. Mara's hands flew over the controls. The trick from the pirate's view, the human ship began to shimmer. Its hull rippled like water. Then, impossibly, it split. One became 3. 3 identical Valiants now floated in the trap, each one moving just slightly out of sync with the others. The pirates' targeting system screamed with errors. Unable to decide which was real. They're using decoys. One pirate shouted over the comms. No, another replied, panic in his voice. They're all real. It wasn't true, of course. Only one Valiant was solid. The other 2 were light and gravity projections, phantoms crafted by the ship's experimental systems. But the pirates couldn't know that. The battle, the first pirate ship fired a heavy plasma bolt that tore through empty space, hitting one of the illusions. It vanished instantly. The pirates thought they had destroyed the real one, until the remaining 2 Valiants both opened fire. Rourke's shots weren't massive blasts, but precise, concentrated beams aimed at engine cores and weapon mounts, One pirate ship spun out of control, its thrusters dead. Another tried to break formation, only to run straight into one of the phantom ships and through it, sending the pilot into a panic. The pirates fired wildly, hitting each other more than their target. Controlled chaos on the bridge of the Valiant. Everything was calm. "Mara, keep them guessing," Ilias said. "Yes, Captain." She wove the ship in and out of the battle, letting the illusions mirror her moves. Rourke's targeting was surgical. Number 3's engines gone. Number 4's shields failing. "One left with teeth, Captain." "Leave them one," Elias replied. "We want someone to tell the story." Within minutes, the pirates were in full retreat. The last ship standing turned tail, engines flaring hard. The silence after the debris field was quiet again. The Valiant's illusions dissolved into the void. Rourke leaned back in his chair, shaking his head. "They're going to be telling ghost stories about us in every pirate den from here to the core." Dr. Sato didn't look away from her screen. "Captain, the signal's still there. It didn't stop during the fight." Elias stepped beside her. "Source?" She hesitated. "Farther now, deeper into the unmapped region. It's like it wants us to keep following." Watching from afar, far behind, the Konari scout ship had witnessed everything. The commander was silent, his eyes locked on the playback of the Valiant splitting into 3. "That is not Council technology," the Atari observer said softly. The commander's claws tapped the console. "No, and if the humans have this, then every balance of power in the galaxy is about to shift." Decision point on the Valiant's bridge. Mara turned in her chair. "Captain, we've left the patrol route by over a light day. If we keep going, there's no quick way back." Elias nodded once. "I know." Barrett's voice came over the coms from engineering. "Captain, the drive's running hot from that trick we pulled. We push it too far, and it'll hold," Elias said, cutting him off. Dr. Sato's voice was quieter now. "What if it's a trap? Not pirates this time, but something worse?" Elias glanced at the signal pulsing on her display. "Then we'll find out what kind of thinks it can bait a human ship." No one spoke after that. The hum of the engines filled the silence. The Valiant turned, its nose aimed toward a part of the galaxy no living map had touched. The signal pulsed again, slower now, almost like it was waiting. The darkness beyond the outer rim felt different. That it wasn't just empty, it felt old. The stars here burned colder, their light faint and tired. Vast stretches of space lay untouched for thousands of years. The maps ended here. Even the Council's most adventurous explorers had turned back long before reaching this far. But the Valiant kept going. The signal was stronger now, a slow, steady pulse, almost like a beacon. Yet the frequency didn't match any known distress call or navigational marker. It was deliberate, personal. On the bridge, Captain Elias Ward watched the faint waveform scroll across Dr. Nia Sato's display. "It's guiding us," she said. Quietly, "Every time we shift course toward it, the signal grows cleaner. If we move away, it distorts." "Which means," Rourke muttered from the weapons station, "whoever's sending it knows exactly where we are." Flashback, the origin in moments like this. Elias's mind sometimes drifted back to the beginning, the day the Valiant's engine was first tested, that it wasn't supposed to exist. Not officially, decades earlier, a Terran deep-sea salvage team had recovered a massive corroded object from the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. It was thought to be an asteroid fragment, until scientists found precision-cut alloys unlike anything on Earth. The object wasn't human. It took years to dismantle, study, and in secret, rebuild the technology inside. The heart of it was a drive core that didn't just push a ship forward. It slipped a ship sideways into thin layers of space where distance was different. A normal ship could travel from one star to another in days or weeks. The experimental engine could cover the same distance in minutes. If the pilot knew how to navigate the strange currents between realities, the Council had no idea Earth had it. The Valiant was the first and only ship equipped with the core, and Elias intended to keep it that way. Present, entering the graveyard, the Valiant emerged from its latest ghost. Step into a region of space littered with wreckage. Hulks of ancient ships drifted silently, their hulls scarred and blackened. Some were massive, larger than any warship in current use, their designs alien and unfamiliar. This isn't pirate territory, Mara said softly, guiding the ship between the floating corpses of vessels. This is a graveyard. Dr. Sato was already scanning. These wrecks are old, thousands of years, maybe more. And the materials, they don't match any known civilization in the archives. Some of them aren't even from the same species, Rourke added, frowning at the shapes. Looks like they fought each other to the death. Barrett's voice came from engineering. Captain, the readings in this area are weird. Space-time distortion pockets everywhere. Like something big happened here. The signal pulsed again, louder now. Mara slowed the Valiant as a shadow began to rise in the distance, a structure so large it took minutes to fully appear in the VIEWPO. It was a station. It hung in the void like a black crown. Its surface covered in spires, domes, and rings that rotated slowly, almost imperceptibly. A faint golden light glowed from deep within, like embers hidden under ash. Dr. Sato's voice was barely a whisper. It's still active. Rourke scanned the surrounding space. No defenses online, no ships, just sitting here. The signal was now a steady tone, pointing them directly to the station's central spire. Docking, the Valiant drifted closer, its hull passing just meters above the station's vast surface. From this distance, the crew could see the strange symbols etched into the black alloy, looping lines and sharp angles that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. Mara guided the ship into a gaping port along the station's side. As they entered, lights flickered on in the docking bay, dim but functional, as if the station had been waiting for them. Atmosphere's thin, but breathable, Dr. Sato reported after a scan. Elias nodded. Rourke, Sato, you're with me, Mara Barrett. Keep the ship hot. Inside the station, the air inside the station was cold and dry, carrying a faint metallic taste. The corridors were enormous, clearly built for beings much taller than humans. The walls were covered in the same strange writing they'd seen outside, and faint lines of light pulsed under the surface, matching the rhythm of the signal. Followed the glow deeper into the station until they reached a vast circular chamber. At its center was a pillar of glass-like material, filled with swirling golden light. Dr. Sato approached slowly, scanning it with her handheld device. Captain, this is a data core, and it's old, older than the wrecks outside. I think it holds records from before the Council even existed. Elias stepped closer. The golden light seemed to shift, forming vague shapes, battles, explosions, fleets burning. For a moment, he thought he saw a map of the galaxy, with vast regions marked in red. Then the images were gone, the history they didn't know. Sato's scanner beeped softly. These records, they tell of a war. A war so big, it burned across the entire galaxy. Civilizations erased, species wiped out, and then a decision to erase all traces of it, to hide it from future generations. Rourke's jaw tightened. The Council doesn't have this in their archives. They've been lying about our history. Before Elias could respond, the lights in the chamber flickered. The arrival Barrett's voice came sharply over comms. Captain, we've got company. Multiple ships inbound, no Council transponders. Their profiles don't match anything in the database. The Valiant's crew hurried back through the massive corridors, boots echoing. By the time they reached the docking bay, they could see them, dark shapes slipping out of the void, their hulls matte black, edges sharp and predatory. They moved without formation, like hunters circling prey. No lights. No markings. "Ghost fleet," Mara said under her breath. The first message the comms crackled, but there was no voice, only a deep, resonant hum that seemed to vibrate in their bones. Then words formed in their minds, not through sound but thought. "You found what was ours." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Elias stepped forward. "We came following a signal. We sent it to see who would come, to see who still remembers." The hum grew louder. "Leave the station. Leave the records, or be erased as they were erased." Rourke's hand went to his weapon. "Captain, they're arming." End of Part 4. The Valiant's engines roared to life. Outside, the Ghost fleet closed in, their weapons glowing with a light that looked almost alive. The station loomed behind them, silent and watching. The crew had seconds to decide: run and lose the truth forever, or fight an enemy older than the Council itself. The Ghost fleet circled like wolves. They made no sound except the deep, pulsing hum that rattled the Valiant's hull. Their ships had no lights, no heat signatures, almost as if they weren't alive at all. The only glow came from the thin red lines tracing their edges, like veins carrying some strange energy. Captain Ilias Ward stood on the bridge, hands gripping the railing. "Mara, bring us about slow. Don't give them a reason to fire first." The pilot's hands moved with care, the Valiant turning gracefully in the black void. Rourke was already at weapons control, fingers hovering over the arming panel. "I've got targets on all sides. If they open fire, we're boxed in." "They want the station," Dr. Sato said from her console. "Not us." The message was clear. Elias's jaw tightened. "They'll have to take both." The first strike without warning, one of the Ghost ships darted forward, faster than anything Mara had ever seen. It fired a beam of red light so bright it cut through the dark like lightning. The shot missed the Valiant's bow by meters. "Not a warning, a test," Rourke cursed. "That was a graze and it still fried half our forward sensors." Another ship moved in, firing a slow, pulsing projectile that didn't look like metal or plasma. It looked liquid. It splashed across the Valiant's shields, spreading like glowing ink. Barrett's voice came sharp from engineering. "Captain, whatever that is, it's eating the shields." "Mara, spin us." Elias barked. The Valiant twisted, flinging the burning red substance off into space. The shields flickered, dimmed, then stabilized. "Ghost step. They're faster than us in normal space." Mara warned, "Not in our space." Elias replied, "Barrett, prime the core." "Ghost step on my mark." Rourke grinned grimly. "Time to show them what humans brought to the party." The Ghost ships adjusted instantly, shifting positions as if they could sense the Valiant's move before it happened. "Mara, now." The Valiant vanished. The stars blinked out, replaced by swirling silver shadows as the ship slipped sideways into ghost space. Here, distance bent and folded. A single second could be 100 kilometers, or nothing at all. The crew held their breath. "5 seconds, Captain," Barrett's voice came through. "Longer than that and the core overheats." The ambush, they dropped back into real space, right behind one of the Ghost ships. Rourke! On it, twin beams of ion fire slammed into the enemy's rear flank. The black hull cracked, spilling strange red vapor into space. The ship shuddered, spun, and went dark. "That's one," Rourke said. But before anyone could celebrate, 3 more Ghost ships appeared, not from normal space, but from their own version of Ghost step. Dr. Sato's voice was tight. "Captain, they can do it too." Elias's stomach dropped. "Then we're in trouble." Close quarters, the enemy moved in fast, weaving between wreckage from the ancient graveyard. The Valiant darted and rolled, dodging beams of red light and strange glowing projectiles. "Shields at 60%. Barrett called. One of the Ghost ships clipped the Valiant's wing with a grazing beam. Sparks flew across the bridge. Rourke returned fire, hitting the attacker's side. But instead of breaking apart, the ship absorbed the blast, its red veins glowing brighter. "They're learning," Sato said, horror in her eyes. "They're adapting to our weapons." "A desperate plan, Mara," Elias said. "Can you take us into the wreck field?" She hesitated. "It's tight in there. One wrong move and we're scrap metal. They'll have to slow down to follow us." The Valiant plunged into the graveyard, weaving between colossal hulls of ships. Long dead. Massive twisted beams, shattered domes, and drifting debris filled the darkness. The Ghost Fleet followed, but their speed dropped. "This is working," Mara said through gritted teeth. Rourke took shots whenever a target crossed his sights, blasting chunks off their pursuers. But then the wreckage itself began to move. The waking dead at first. It was just a faint vibration. Then, one of the derelicts, a massive warship the size of a small moon, turned its hull toward them. "That's impossible," Sato whispered. "It's been dead for thousands of years." Red light began to snake through the old ship's cracks and seams. Its weapons, huge cannons the length of towers, slowly rotated toward the Valiant. "They're reactivating the wrecks." Barrett yelled over COMS. The warship fired. A beam of ancient, unstable energy tore through space, missing by meters but throwing the Valiant spinning. Mara fought the controls, the ship groaning under the strain, playing the core. "There, trying to trap us between the fleet and the reactivated ships," Ilya said. Barrett's voice came through, urgent. "Captain, the core can do another ghost step, but not far. The field's unstable." Elias's mind raced. If they jumped wrong, they could end up inside a wreck. But staying here meant certain destruction. He made the call. "Mara, plot. A step right through that rotating debris field. Rourke, prep charges." The trap the Valiant jumped. For 3 seconds, the world was silver shadows and warped time. Then they burst into real space again, right inside the wreck field's heart. Rourke's hands flew across the console. Explosive drones launched from the Valiant's belly, sticking to massive spinning fragments. "Drone set," Rourke said. "Detonate." The explosions tore through the debris, sending chunks spinning wildly. The ghost ships chasing them were slammed by tumbling wreckage, their formations breaking. 2 of them vanished in fire. The rest scattered. The final push. "Captain, incoming." Mara shouted. The largest ghost ship yet was approaching, its hull pulsing like a heartbeat. It dwarfed the Valiant, casting them in shadow. "They're not letting us leave with that data," Sato said. Elias took a breath. "Then we take them out here." Barrett's voice came from engineering. "I can overload the core, turn the ghost step into a shockwave, but it'll fry our drives." "How long to fix them?" Elias asked. "If we survive, hours." Elias didn't hesitate. "Do it." The shockwave the ghost flagship loomed closer. Weapons glowed. "Core at max," Barrett said. 30 seconds. The crew held steady, the hum of the charging engine filling the air. The enemy fired, red beams slicing toward them. Mara twisted the Valiant hard, skimming past. 10 seconds. The ghost ship was almost on top of them. "Now!" Elias shouted. The Valiant slipped into ghost space, but instead of vanishing, the core ripped the fabric of space wide open. A blast of warped gravity surged outward, slamming into the ghost fleet. Ships buckled. Hulls tore apart. The massive flagship split in 2, spilling red light into the void like blood. Silence when the light faded. The wreck field was still. The surviving ghost ships were gone, or hiding. The station hung in the distance, untouched. Barrett's voice broke the silence. "Drives are offline. We're dead in the water." Elias stared at the golden glow of the ancient station. "Then we use the time wisely." Sato met his gaze. "You want the rest of the data?" "Yes," Elias said. "If the Council doesn't know this truth, they never will. And if the Ghost Fleet returns, we'll be ready." The Valiant drifted silently in space, engines dead but hearts alive with purpose. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. Captain Elias Ward stared at the ancient station's golden glow growing smaller behind them. In its depths lay secrets older than any star secrets the galaxy was not ready to face. The return months passed as the crew worked tirelessly to repair the Valiant's crippled engines. Chief Engineer Barrett and his team pushed the limits of their knowledge, using parts salvaged from wreckage and their own ingenuity. At last, the ship stirred to life. The hum of the core was softer now, cautious but steady. It was time to head home. The journey back toward Council space felt heavier. The crew knew what awaited them, a council that laughed at humanity's tiny ship, now faced with truths they could no longer ignore. The council chamber. When the Valiant entered the council's grand chamber again, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Alien delegates whispered among themselves, eyes sharp, awaiting the captain's report. Elias stood before the assembly, calm and resolute. He began, "The history you know is incomplete. The war that shaped this galaxy was hidden, erased from your records. We found the proof." A holographic projection activated, displaying images from the ancient station, massive fleets, battles, and warnings etched in light. Murmurs turned to gasps. The revelation. Dr. Sato stepped forward. "These records show a war older than the Council itself. It wiped out entire civilizations. The ghost fleet we encountered is a remnant, guardians or hunters, still protecting their lost secrets." The room grew silent. An elder alien raised a claw. "Why did you hide this knowledge? Why send us signals only to lead you into traps?" Elias met the gaze steadily. "Because the galaxy needed to be ready. Humanity's tiny ship was mocked, but it holds the key to survival. We've learned to fight with intelligence, agility, and truth." Shifting power. The Council's leaders exchanged looks, their arrogance cracked. They realized the balance of power was changing. The human ship, the one once called a toy, had rewritten history. The galaxy now had to confront truths long buried and prepare for threats beyond imagining. New alliances. As the assembly broke, delegates approached Elias with proposals. Alliances, technology exchanges, and shared exploration missions. Lieutenant Mara Vale smiled quietly. "From outcasts to leaders." Rourke grinned. "Told you our little ship was something special." A final message before leaving the chamber. Elias received a coded transmission. It was the signal, faint but persistent. A whisper echoed through the comms. "This is only the beginning." Epilogue. Far beyond known space, the Ghost Fleet watched. Their war was not over, but the Valiant was ready, and so was humanity. The galaxy had changed forever.